making me. What's time at a thing they kill or keep a fire or lose their living? I gotta go faster, keep up the pace, just to stay in the human race. I could go supersonic, the problem's chronic. Tell me, does life exist beyond it? When I need to sate, I just accelerate into oblivion. Into oblivion.
Crunch.
Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another episode of Record Breakers. I am Peter Rafe. Here with me is my crew to review music. We have none other than Brett.
Hey, guys.
We've got Drew.
Hello.
And we've got Patrick.
Hello.
We are here to talk about music, of course, as we always do. No need to explain. This week, we have an album provided by to us by Drew. Drew, what have you got for us this week?
Well, like I said last week, there's a few bands that when you think of third wave, you sort of think of your Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, your Real Big Fishes, your Sublime, and all that. There was one band that I think flew a little bit lower on the radar to most people than them, but were just as great at delivering that great ska punk sound. This band by the name of Less Than Jake from Gainesville, Florida. They're sort of more of the punk rock edge to them than some of the other bands, your No Doubts and such of that nature. But I think they're a really great band. They've got a great sound to them, and a really fun show.
Mm-hmm. I know Brett, you knew what you were getting when you came into this album, pretty much. I know that. Tell us about that.
Oh, I owned this album when I was like 15. It was on the playlist of the skate parks that I frequented back in my days riding BMX. It was something that, like, when I got my first car and my first CD player, it was something that lived in my car for a long, long time until either some girl or one of my Delta Bravo friends stole it from me. But yeah, I know this album front to back, and I haven't heard it probably 10 years, and I still can, like, go through it in my head. So yeah.
Yeah. Patrick, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I knew who Less Than Jake were, but I scarcely listened to them before this, because I was into some of the other third wave bands. Like, I like the Boss Tones, I love Sublime, although they're kind of only half third wave. They just happen to be there. They're kind of their own weird thing. And I was more on the punk side than the ska side when this was happening. Or actually really a couple years after. But, it's ska music, and it's pretty hard for me to hate ska, so I knew that there was at least that going for it, and I knew it was kind of the more punk side of ska, so I was interested. I wanted to see what it would be like, a band that I probably would have listened to at that period if someone had shoved it in my face a little more, but now I'm like, coming back around to it, 12, 13 years later to see how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be the themes and elements that are pertinent to this album?
To me, Hello Rockview was sort of important in Less Than Jake as far as their arc goes. Pezcore and Losing Streak had a little bit more of the punk side of Less Than Jake, I would say. Hello Rockview sort of mellowed it out, added a lot more of the ska overtones to it, even though it was very, very much more the punk side of the ska punk third waveness of it. You had a lot of great horn play from Less Than Jake, always that very blasting sort of sound in your face feel to it, and that pop punk sort of feel, but with the ska upstroke. To me, Hello Rockview sort of cemented what the core sound was going to be for Less Than Jake going forward, and you had different albums from them that sort of dabbled in different sounds, more reggae feels on, say, Anthem and stuff like that, and more pop on, like, the In With The Out crowd stuff. But this was always going to be, to me, what their core sound was going to be. They could not get away from this, and it pushed them forward into what they became to their fans and what people know them for and what their stage show sort of is.
Mm-hmm. Brett, I guess follow up on kind of your experience. What are the key themes and elements for this album?
Punk rock drums. It was punk rock drums. They're very, very different than reggae drums.
Yes.
It's punk rock drums are the leading factor. It's also, it's got punk rock guitars, which are way different than the normal ska guitar, because normally it's, this does have a whole lot of I'm doing some crazy, very difficult to do upstroke on a very fast beat, and I'm, going against what wouldn't be the easy thing for me to do as a guitarist. Like when playing on the offbeat, difficult thing to do. you want to be playing with the downstroke most of the time. But you got that going on. But you also have some really fantastic work, some great trombone work. Like, it stands out. It's pretty hard for a guy on a trombone to stand out, against, something. I mean, I have not said that probably ever in my life, but, it has a really good trombone. That trombone's pretty bitchin'. But no, this really has some good trombone work. The horns are tight, which that makes a ska album. If the horns are sloppy, the album's sloppy. So I mean, it's got that.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what would be kind of the themes and elements that stood out for you? What did you think?
It's really fun. I think that is like my view of this era, looking back now from not being the angsty teenager that got into it the first time around. Is I can appreciate it for what it is, which is really fun to listen to. I mean, the vocals are a little whiny, maybe in terms of tone, not in terms of what they're saying, although that does happen a little bit, and he has kind of a whiny voice, but there's also woes, and I love woes. The more woes on an album, the better in a lot of ways. Sometimes some yeahs are okay, but woes, I like woes.
Yeahs, they're all right.
Yeah.
Between the AFI and the Offspring, I don't think we need anyone else to sing. No, sorry.
Yes, pretty much. It's fun, and I'm amazed it slipped by me, but also not surprised, because I really when I was into the punk thing, I was less into ska and more into like straight up pop punk, or some of the and that progressed from pop punk to more normal punk to hardcore, and then I just sort of went to metal. But this, looking back at it, and like it sounds like its era. It sounds like the mid to late 90s in all the best and worst ways. But it's fun, and I think that's the key to it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of that classic ska feel to it, with a little bit more of a punk rock flavor. Drew, I almost went to Brett for the key tracks. Drew, what are some of the key tracks to pay attention to on this album?
To me, the key tracks, well, it's what would Record Breakers be without starting out with Last One Out of Liberty City. It sets up the record beautifully to me, because one, you get the sound you're going to get into. It's like, okay, it's a fast-moving punk tempo, ska guitar, ska horns, very tight sound, very, very good sound. And lyrically, you get that sort of angry about wasting your time in this sort of city sort of feel. Five State Drive is one of my favorite songs to skank to. People have asked me to learn how, so they can do it at shows before. Five State Drive is one of the songs I put on my list of it's easy to help somebody learn how to dance to this song. This in a song by Real Big Fish called Beer, but that's besides the point. History of Boring Town, to me, is a quintessential, like, sort of ska sing-along song. It's just a bunch of fun. And then, as a funny side note, Scott Farkas takes it on the chin. Horn line starts out absolutely great, blasts you right in the face. It's right where you want to hear. But to me, and this is not a slight to anybody who does this, but every, like, sort of crappy high school ska band seems to end up covering this one. At least they did in the Ohio ska scene for a while. So, like, if there was a bunch of 15-year-olds playing ska music, they would cover this badly, because it's sort of what you feel in high school, sort of lyric. And not to bash those guys, but it's just, to me, every time I hear Scott Farkas Takes It on the Chin, I always think of the bad covers I constantly heard at every club. And I think that's sort of funny. But it's also a phenomenal song to me.
Brett, let's follow up. What would be some of the key tracks for you on this album?
First, Drew said nothing wrong. I can't justify any of this other than like sweet memories of, being at the skate park, Kokomo, Indiana, on my S&M dirt bike, and making my knees bad for the rest of my life. But some of my best friends are metalheads. Is a song that stands out. I remember that a whole lot. 5 State Drive. It's got a soft spot in my heart. But Scott Farkas Takes One on the Chin. That is something that I remember. It's one of those songs I don't need to hear anymore. It's in my brain. I could just rewind it and listen to it. Like I know it. It's one of those things. But one of the other things that I feel very bad that I have yet to bring up, or anybody's really brought up, the bass guitar in this album is,
oh my god,
is pretty fantastic. And it also translated very well. I saw these guys live. I think it was 99. I saw them live, something like that, but long ago in a galaxy far, far away. But they translate live too. That's something that you also, when it comes to horns, in an outdoor setting, yes, they did very, very well. And I think I heard most of these songs off of this album on that set. So like they are a very, very good band.
Yeah, this album definitely defined their live set for I think a long time. Definitely.
And something else to note while we're noting the bass guitar, Roger Lima is in a couple of other bands as well, and he's also one of the principal singers in the bands that he plays. So you're hearing the bass line and the singing, which is not exactly an easy task when you're playing bass lines like that are very much a different tempo and rhythm to what you're singing. So,
Patrick, what would be some of the tracks that caught your attention? What would be some of the key tracks for you?
I really, really want to pretend Last One Out of Liberty City is about Grand Theft Auto 3, but it predates it by a few years. So I can't have nice things. But it's a cool song, and I think Drew put it like really well, that it you know exactly what you're getting into before the end of that song. That is a really good sound of what the album is. All my best friends are metalheads, partially because a lot of my friends are metalheads, and partially because Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. And like that, to me, this sound is the sound of a Tony Hawk game. And I love that for it, because this, like, I spent years and years of my life playing the Pro Skater games, and bands like Less Than Jake and were, sort of the key to that. And I remember all my best friends are metalheads from that. And that was probably the first time I ever heard them. Yeah. History of a Boring Town hit me a little too close to home, because I'm still stuck in this boring town. And yeah. But the whole, really, I really, really like Last One Out of Liberty City. I think that's really fun. And all my best friends are metalheads. And I will agree on the bass lines on this album. Like, anytime you can actually hear the bass in the mix, and bands bother to, turn up the bass player enough that you can actually hear what he's doing, and it's this good. I mean, that's the difference between terrible pop punk bands and the good ones, is the bass player making it somehow better. But then again, I like Blink-182, which really isn't saying much about bass players.
Yeah.
But usually you don't get really great musicianship on a lot of punk records. Usually a lot of guys go into punk because they're not the shreddy kids. And the difference is these guys, they're really tight. They play clean. There's a couple of kind of cheesy punk riffs, but for the most part, it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you first hear Victor Lundberg's voice, you know you're in for a good ride. On All of Our Friends Are Metalheads. Yeah, and it's just a fantastic track, especially that one from, brings you back to those days playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. It's just one of those fantastically classic songs. Let's go back around the horn, and I'll stick with Patrick. Patrick, what would be some of your thoughts on the album as a whole, conclusively?
It's fun. It's a really enjoyable record. I don't love it, but I like it a lot. I think that is a good place to have it. I think if I had listened to it probably closer to when it came out, I would have thought it was like the greatest thing in the world, because it's just really, really good. There's some moments where it shows its age. I mean, it is very, very much a third wave ska record and 90s punk record and all the tropes that come along with both of those. But it's at least good at the tropes, and it's got woes.
Yeah, got the woes and
it's got woes.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be your thoughts on the album as a whole?
Well, that's pretty cool. It's like it's one of those albums that I was there for. Like, I was there, I bought it. I went to the Karma in Kokomo and picked it up. Bought it from a unibrowed hippie. And I listened to the crap out of it. It's something that, you may not have really done anything in the late 90s. Like, been there, saw what it was like, played your N64 and, wished that there were better NoFX albums. And, they were coming. You knew they were coming, but, you wanted them now. You really need to give this album a listen. There's something about this that separates it from its genres. It stands out. It's two parts mixed together that worked. And it's not going to be overly heady. It's not going to be overly vulgar. It's not going to be anything that you're not going to get yelled at by your mom for rocking out to this. It's sort of like kind of wishy-washy, but done not wishy-washy. It's a great album. And it's got great memories, and it's really good if you want to learn how to, do a bar spin over a spine and not, wreck your own. It was there for me in that a lot more than Jello Biafra was. It had a better drum to it than the Dead Kennedys. Yeah. It's skate park music. Seriously, it's skate park music.
Oh yeah.
Oh, skate parks. I never got around to going to a skate park or skating. It would be something I would have enjoyed doing.
If you come to Indiana, I'll take you to go get your ass broken, and I'll watch, because I'm old and crippled.
That'll be fun. And of course, last but not least, Drew, what would be your final thoughts on the album?
To me, Less Than Jake is, like Brett said, it's a very special band to me. This is a very special album. Less Than Jake did hit me, unlike Swagger, when I was a young punk. And this is one of those albums where it's sort of inspirational in a weird way to me. It's not super deep. It's not revolutionary. It's the punk rock thing of, I want better. I want to be awesome. Why isn't the place that I'm at not where I want to be? And that's kind of cool. Sometimes you need that as a young punk rocker. This is also one of the bands and one of the albums that if I have a friend that's into pop punk or punk rock in general and doesn't know what ska is somehow, this is one of the bands that I hand them and here is your introduction in the ska, and then we can go on to the broader world of it after that. It's a good first dipping your toe in if you're coming from the punk end of things to have this record along, and it's just great fun. Just a lot of fun to listen to, and a lot of fun to dance to, and it's, like Brett said, it's a BMX riding, skateboarding, rollerblading, having a good time sort of punk rock ska record.
Did you just bring up Goof Boots on the podcast?
I did.
Yeah.
Look, I had friends who were wood pushers and fruit booters, so And
Mhm.
I don't know if Tyler or Anthony are watching this, but they both liked Less Than Jake, so
Yeah.
they kind of win.
And yeah, that would be our thoughts on the album overall. Go out and do some skating to some Less Than Jake. It's a good time. Of course, now we get to our central point, our main event of the evening. We get to our haikus. I'm gonna go first this week, with my haiku. And that is, all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers. I dig ska. Patrick, what is your haiku?
So third wave it hurts, but I'm a sucker for woes. Pretty fun record.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what is your haiku?
Horns that blow so well with fast drums of punk rock. Sweet old memories.
Mm-hmm. And of course, last but not least, Drew.
Third wave royalty, circle pits, dancing, pure fun, nostalgic and angsty.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Of course, if you are playing along, you already know this at home. But if you'd like to listen along, we curate a playlist over on Spotify that you can subscribe to and keep up. If you want a playlist on another service that you want us to curate for you, I think we'll try to do it in kind of ahead of time way. Let us know, as long as it's not Beats Music, as I said last week. Fuck Beats Music. I'm still bitter. Also, on that playlist, next week we're going to plan to have a guest. We just don't know what's going on with that guest, or exactly which guest, but we'll figure that out sometime this week. But I will go ahead and give you guys something to listen to in the meantime, which is 2 weeks from now, which is going to be my turn. I'm just going to go ahead and make these guys listen to baby metal. How about that? So go ahead and get yourself ready for the baby metal, for the kawaii metal, as we approach that. But that is all from us. You can find us all over the internet. You can find Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at Hibbitybibard, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XDruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers, number 4 Record Breakers, recordbreakerspodcast.com, recordbreakerspodcast@gmail.com. iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere. Just look us up. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
So, Drew, would you say this album people ought to pick it up?
Pick it up.
Mm-hmm.